Cherry Audio just launched Octave Cat, an emulation of a classic and yet a bit obscure synthesizer from the 70s, the Cat by Octave Electronics. The original was a duophonic analog synth, so Cherry Audio emulated that but also added polyphony, effects and a sequencer. So today we'll discuss if it's good, if it's fun and how it sounds. One of the great things about this emulation is that they developed it with the original designer of the Cat, and for me that's always a plus. We have two oscillator engines. For the first one, we can change the fine-tuning and also we can change the chorus pitch from 1 Hz to 9 kHz, which is crazy. With this selector, you choose if you control it on semitones or on hertz. Here you have different modulation options, 2 for the pitch and 1 for the pulse width. Of course, the pulse width only works with the pulse. The first pitch modulator is the LFO, which you find right here. It's really simple, you have LFO delay and LFO frequency. You can sync it or not to your project. Then you just start adding depth. And you can choose it to be a sine wave, a square wave, or sample and hold, which is random. I will go back to this in a minute, but it's crazy that the selector of the LFO shape is not on the LFO, it's actually on the oscillator modulation. So for example, you can use a sine wave for one oscillator and a square wave for the other. The other pitch modulation gets me to the envelopes or transient generator. Here we have a simple ADSR and a simple AR, which means that you only control the attack and the release, and the sustain is always all the way up. But you can also set frequency modulation when you choose VCO2. At the bottom you have the audio level, where you can choose which waveforms are producing sound. We have sawtooth wave, triangle and a pulse. Besides that, we have a sub-octave, which is a square wave. VCO2 is more simple, it's only a sawtooth wave or a square wave without pulse width modulation and the sub-octave. We can change the fine-tune, also we can set it so it syncs VCO1. As I said, the modulations are the same, but now we can take advantage that VCO1 has that really wide frequency spectrum. We can change the octaves, add some glide. And we also have options for the sample and hold. We can set some glide. And we can make the source of the sample and hold to be VCO2 or VCO1. It's set to sample at the speed of the LFO. Here on this other panel, we can set off the audio of VCO1, and with that we can use it as a modulator easier because now it's not going to go through the amp, but it will still modulate every other parameter. Here at the bottom we have the filter. For me it sounds really nice. And it can produce a really intense resonance. The modulation options are for the VCF and are exactly the same of the VCO2. And if for example you want a more snappy envelope for the filter, but you still want a constant tone, you can set the modulator of the filter to be the ADSR, but change the VCA to be controlled by the AR. Here at the bottom you can change the polyphony. The original was duophonic, but here you can add up to 16 voices. You can play it on duophonic mode or on polyphonic. Now of course, Cherry Audio added a lot of different effects and more features, so let's check that out. You just have to change tab right here. Here we have 5 different effects and a sequencer. The effects are a distortion with 2 types, a phaser with up to 12 stages, a flanger or a chorus, you cannot have both, a delay with 3 types, which are digital, a tape delay, and a ping-pong. You can add some damping, add some drive, and change the feedback. The last effect is a reverb. We have 5 types. We have spring, plate, room, and hall, and of course the galactic reverb. You can control the decay, and you have a high pass and low pass filter. Finally, one of the features that I like the most is the sequencer. The rate can be set on hertz on synchy to your DaveO, and you can set it so when you press start it will always be on, or make it on only when you press a key. The sequencer itself is 8 steps. It could be amazing to change them to have 16, but 8 is plenty. You can set the value on semitone, and all the way down you turn it off. And here you change the number of steps. This sequencer is based on voltage control. Voltage is how you control different parameters. Usually 1 voltage will mean 1 octave. So if we choose 1 voltage right here, we will go from C2 all the way up to C3. To voltage lets us go all the way up to C4. And 5 voltage is all the way up to C7. We have these quantized controls. This means that we will enable or disable the controls on semitone. And these switches right here, well, are called destination for a reason. On default settings, the top row will control the pitch of VCO1 and VCO2, and the lower row will control the cutoff point. But of course you can do it whatever way you want. You can even control VCO1 differently from VCO2, so you take advantage of that duophonic nature. And if you control the same oscillator with the 2 sequencers, the voltages or the semitones will be summed. What's the verdict? Well, I really enjoyed this synthesizer. I like how oscillator 1 invites to experimentation, as you can set it to be 1 Hz or 9 kHz, and also because each oscillator can modulate one another, and we also have syncing. Not only that, the effects are really good, I especially like the chorus and the flanger, and the sequencer has its own uniqueness. So definitely is a fun synthesizer. Now, full disclosure, Cherry Audio sent me a copy of this synthesizer so I could make this review, but they have no say about the content of this video, they haven't watched it in advance, so everything here is my own opinion. With that said, if you want to buy this synthesizer, consider using my affiliate link down below, and if you like this review, give a like to the video. I will see you next time, and bye bye.